This meeting is being recorded.
Wow. We're doing it. What up, world? It's your boy, the Nonprofit Sector Connector, 2 flights up from my kitchen table, just below the roof. That's right. Where else would I be? I'm in the attic, baby. It's your boy, the Nonprofit Sector Connector. See, this is funny. You're getting a kick out of this because you've never really experienced this, Christine Deska.
I didn't know you sang in your introductions.
I sing a lot. I might sing throughout the show. You'll never know. All right. So every single week I do this show called Philanthropy in Focus. I do it at 10 a.m. on Friday mornings. And I've always said there's going to be a companion to the show. I did 99 episodes of Philanthropy in Focus. I did a 99th episode this morning with the New York Marine Rescue Center out here in Long Island, Riverhead. They go out and they save these big old sea turtles. I trust me, Christine, I'm going to be out there. I'm going to be visiting with the sea turtles. I had no idea we had sea turtles. Anyway, I always knew there'd be a companion to Philanthropy in Focus, because Philanthropy in Focus, the platform, as you know, is to give nonprofits an opportunity to come on, tell their story. And I like to say, I help them amplify their message, get the word out, let people know what they're doing, let people know about the impact they're making. And when you play Nonprofit Sector Connector, it all draws to the crescendo of how can we help? How can my world help you? How can my world support you? So I say the companion piece. This is it. It's called the In Focus Nonprofit Show. We're going to do this show bi-weekly on Friday afternoons. And I could not think of anybody better to be the first guest on this show than my friend, Christine Deska. What is up? How are you?
Aw, thank you so much, Tommy. I think a lot of people that know both of us know we work together a lot. You're like a brother to me. And I, couldn't think of a better person to say absolutely yes. And I will start off by saying, if Tommy asks you to do something, your answer really should be yes. It's very hard to say no to this man because he's doing such great work throughout the nonprofit space. So this is going to be fun. I'm honored to be here.
Well, I'm honored to have you. This is going to be a lot of fun. I do have some things I want to read real quick. I tend to put things down, jot them down just so they're there, just in case I decide I want to read something, because sometimes you need a roadmap, right? We were talking about a roadmap earlier today. So look, I would tell you this. My intention with this program is to bring to you all who are focused on what we're doing, the nonprofit leaders of boards, leaders of organizations, executive directors, CEO, depending on your org, those titles are sometimes different, or any sort of director or leader in a nonprofit organization. My intention is to bring to you vetted subject matter experts, vetted thought leaders, the people who know what works in nonprofit and want to bring you that education, potentially resources, and certainly products. Because candidly, nonprofits are businesses, nonprofits are employers, nonprofits need HR, they need benefits, they need board portals, as we're going to talk about today. I was on a phone call with a group yesterday, and they were ordering office supplies while we were about to start our meeting. So it's everything. So, but in my mind, it's how do I bring the people that I care most about, the leaders of nonprofits and their teams, how do I bring them the right resources, the right connections? So I'm going to read Christine's background. I'm going to give you all just kind of some background on who Christine is, and we're going to dive in this conversation. We got a lot to talk about, and I feel like the Mad Hatter. A lot to do, a little bit of time. Like that's actually, I think I might be Mad Hatter. That sounds a lot like what my reality is. That's not just a fantasy world. So I'm going to read a little from the notes. Christine Deska is a co-founder of Nonprofit Sector Strategies, which is a public benefit corporation dedicated to helping nonprofits maximize mission impact, to help provide strategic planning and board management services to small and medium-sized nonprofits. We're going to talk about Bell's Board today, which is a board management software that is different from what came before it in the marketplace. What's Christine's background? What has she done? She was at the Columbus Citizens Foundation as director of programs from 2014 to 2016. She was with AARP from 2006 to 2014. A lot of work with adult hunger issues, financial security. She managed volunteers, which we might get into, should make a note of that. We might get into volunteer management because that's super critical for us as those in the sector. She sits on the board of Hunger Solutions New York, which is a nonprofit organization dedicated to alleviation of hunger throughout New York State. Board president of our own nonprofit resource hub, MBA from Baruch College. I don't have a lot of regrets in life. I went to Baruch undergrad and did not finish at Baruch because I was 20 years old, and that's why, and I was a bartender and whatever, so I did not finish while I was at Baruch. I did graduate from SUNY Old Westbury with my degree in finance, but I think Baruch probably one of the best kept secrets in the city, in the CUNY system, right? Wouldn't you agree?
Absolutely. I had such a fantastic experience there and have a great network of peers that I keep in touch with. Go Baruch College, especially the Zicklin School of Business.
Sure, no doubt. I don't know when you were there, but when I was there, there was a building up on 21st. There was a building down in Union Square. You had to like bounce around the city. You had like 50 minutes between classes because you literally had to go a mile and a half, 2 miles to get. Maybe I'm exaggerating, but far. You had to walk a lot of blocks. So let's jump into this, Christine. I mean, I remember the first time I saw you speak. We had met, we'd connected before that, but the topic that always comes to mind, and I brought it up to you earlier, was strategic return on investment, right? So we could start there. We don't have to start there. I wanted to just put that out there into the conversation. Yeah. I know we have a map of places you want to go and things we want to talk about. So I'd like people to leave a conversation like this really feeling that they garnered a bunch of knowledge. They learned about you, and they learned about you as how you could be a resource for them to connect with and teach them things down the road. So let's start there. Where do you want to start?
Sure. Thank you. Yeah, I have such fond memories of that presentation. I think I've done several now on social return on investment, also known as SROI. But my partner, Frank, always says, he came to me and said, "Don't be nervous, Christine." And I went up to the podium and I said, "Okay, everyone, power pose." And it was a really fun presentation. This was before COVID, and our good friend Ken Serini was hosting one of his fantastic resource events. So for any nonprofits listening who don't know about Serini and Associates, they just have such a finger on the pulse of the nonprofit space and are truly a great resource. And they had me speak on social return on investment. And for me, it's one of my favorite topics because it's so tied into strategic planning, which we do a lot of work on with our various clients, because it's all tied together. If you have a strategic plan and you're not referring back to it, why bother, right? If you've gone through this planning process, but you're not tracking your metrics, you haven't really put effort into, why should we keep track of this particular metric? What is the true social impact of this program? And how do we get there? And so, there's ways to really push forward and get to that full circle social return on investment. An example of that would be when I did a lot of work around older adult hunger, really getting to the point where you could say something like, in this particular county, we were able to have the economic income of X dollars because we connected this many people to the supplemental nutrition assistance benefit, right? It's really being able to nail down, combined with research, what your true impact is in the community that you're aiming to serve. So it's quite a bit of work. It really takes it to that next level. It's not just saying, 80 people attended our program this year, but what does that really mean, in terms of what your social mission goals are? So it's a lot of fun to dig into with organizations. We learn a lot as we go because it's kind of the layers of the onion. You're kind of unpeeling it until you get to that real number. And it's always more than just being able to quantify that. And it's really about being able to then communicate that. And that's a whole other piece of the pie.
But let me just jump in because I just say quantify it and then communicate it. And I think I misspoke. I think I called it strategic return on investment, which I knew social return. But let me say about this whole thing. That's what grantors want to see. That's what major donors want to see, right? To me, it's equating to, and this word is probably overused, but it's equating to impact. But it's real impact. It's impact on the street to the constituents that the organization serves. Like, this is real data. Like, someone got a meal who didn't get a meal. Someone is now literate who was not literate, right? Someone has access to fill in the blanks that they did not have access to. And then, well, what's that mean? And what's that mean, right? And what's that mean, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Right. It's coming up with the proper surveying tools, and how often are you surveying the people that you've impacted, and what is that really leading to for quality of life for the folks that you serve. And there, when you work with the experts in each industry, and it's hard to even paint the nonprofit sector with such a broad brush, right? We work with so many different types of organizations, from healthcare to animal welfare to organizations serving with people with disabilities to organizations in education. It's just so wide reaching. But within those organizations, we meet the most fantastic folks who are on the ground and know the intricacies of these issues. And then we can guide them to get to, okay, what is the number that we're looking for? What are we trying to get to, so that we can convey our impact to both our, target audience of who we serve, but our other target audience of donors or prospective donors, and how do they want to get this information? So I'm very glad that I got my first degree in communications, because that serves me well every single day. I have to say.
Well, that's so important. Yeah. I mean, and I didn't mention that Manhattan College, your BA in communications, right? Focus on journalism there too. I understand it. So yeah, so you had that. Yeah. And I think everybody, I don't know about everybody, but they say that people fear public speaking more than they fear death.
Yeah.
I believe is how the quote.
I can relate, because I fear bugs and the dentist more than childbirth, and I've done it twice now. So these irrational fears.
I thought you meant you went to the dentist twice. Your teeth look great for somebody who's only been to the dentist. I have to say.
Irrational fears, public speaking is a big one for sure.
Yeah,
and that comes back to communications. You got over that fast.
I don't know. I'll tell you, it's funny. I don't know if I'm over it. I just get through it, I think is what it is. Like there was something I had to deal with this week, and I was up at 2:00 in the morning with nerves about that thing. And it was just because, but I've taught my kids that too, Christine, that there's nothing wrong with being nervous, because I think it means we care. I think if we
Exactly.
I'll tell you this story. Years and years and hundreds of years ago, I took a course at Nassau Community College. In fact, after high school, I went to Nassau Community College, but this was later on. It was like an adult continuing education. So I guess it wasn't 100 years ago. But this man was teaching us about different topics, and it must have been some public speaking involved, because he told this story about he had this opportunity to go see this very famous woman speak. And he sees beforehand, he's able to be backstage, and he sees this woman, this little bit of a thing hunched up, like all squirrely, and holding her handkerchief and a bag of nerves, right? Just very anxious. Right? And this person turns out to be and is known for being a very incredibly accomplished speaker. And it was Mrs. Eleanor Roosevelt, who was hovered over, like shivering, but then went out and delivered a great speech. And I just remember that, because it's okay to be anxious. It's okay. It's what we do after it. Is we're going to push through. And that's what I remember, like one of my boys was going to school the other day, and he said, I said, are you anxious about this thing? He goes, yeah, but Dad, it's because I care. And I said, wow, doing something right, man. Doing something.
That's a good parenting moment right there.
Couple wins under my belt, man. A couple. I keep. I'm humble, because I got a couple of losses too. But so let's talk about things that you have uncovered, from a strategic planning perspective. Also, we want to roll into talk about Bell's Board, which is the board portal. I want you to be able to just take an opportunity to really drop some knowledge on nonprofit leaders, things that you see, things, your 2 or 3, like the key takeaways that, if you're looking at a strategic plan, or if you're going to implement a new program, just some of that stuff, if you could, Christine.
Sure. I mean, I think the biggest way to look at this is, when you think about your organization and how everyone's working together, take the pulse of the culture of the organization. And think about how your organization is perceived. Is it perceived how you want it to be perceived? And then we kind of roll into a planning process, which can be something pretty short and tight and wrapped up. Some organizations do this in a half day. We tend to spend months working with teams over every few weeks. We'll get together and we'll kind of chip away at the planning process, but the byproduct is team building. We have very rewarding, experiences, really making teams feel more connected and growing their relationships, because you're in this kind of safe space together and all, working collectively and defining these goals. And so when you kind of get to that point where you have this this one pager that really shows for the next 3 years, here's where we want to be, and here's a 5-year vision goal, or even farther out. Sometimes we talk about a lot of visioning work and thinking about how the world's going to be changed in 10 years, and where will your organization fit into some of those big changes, like artificial intelligence and all of these big looming, technological advances that could affect your organization. So it's a lot of fun and brainstorming conversations, but then really digging into, okay, here's our key initiatives, and here's how we know it's going to work and expanding them, but maybe here's a new idea, or here's a new way we can engage this audience or that audience, or how well are we doing with XYZ. And so some of the core components are, of course, resource development, growing key programs. And then another big piece is board development. And so how are you engaging your board, and is your board in the right composition? So I was telling you earlier, I think, Tommy, a really fun part of our work now is we go through something called a board development action plan with organizations.
Yeah, let's hear about that.
Yeah, it's really fun. It's getting together a segment of board members, or the entire board, depending on your size, and your key leaders, and really working together. We offer a bunch of different modules, so everything from good governance practices reviews, roles and responsibilities, how to grow engagement, effective committee structure, how does that look for your organization, and strategic recruitment. Pretty much every nonprofit we've worked with is looking for another type of board member. They're looking to fill some sort of gap, but kind of floundering or not able to really just stop and breathe and say, okay, here's how we're going to do this as a team. And so this process has been really rewarding, where nonprofits basically get to pick their own menu of modules, and we go through those and come out with this action plan that's ready to go. We have to say roadmaps. Here's your roadmap for the next even 2 years. Map it out, right? So that your governance practices are on point and in compliance, and your organization will be better for it.
Yeah, so let's talk for a second. This is a resource show. It's an opportunity to really show your stuff. And I want to just say, the organization, your company, is called Nonprofit Sector Strategies. You and your partner, Frank, the work you're talking about, the ideas and things, this is what you come in and do, right? So an organization would come to you and say, look, we want to do that board development action plan. Or we want to look at more of a larger strategic plan. That's what you guys can do. How do they connect with you? How do they contact you if an organization wants to bring you in for that type of work?
Sure. Yeah. Just go to our website, nonprofitsectorstrategies.com. I'm sure we'll post some links wherever you're watching this now or might see it later. We also have our website, bellsboard.com, which we'll talk about. So it's just reaching out, and we really have, a thoughtful conversation with any organization's leadership, and several sometimes, before you might feel comfortable deciding this is your path. Because, the other part of what we do, you and I, Tommy, is we are so dedicated to providing education and tools and resources to the sector. So, when Tommy and I first started working together, it was hosting monthly roundtables, which we still host. We did take a little Thanksgiving holiday hiatus, but we're just committed to bringing different subject matter experts to all of the various nonprofits we work with. So I would be remiss not to mention that, as well as the Nonprofit Resource Hub, nonprofitresourcehub.org, where I'm currently the president. Tommy's a big part of the team as well. His partner Ed is also on the board. But this is a completely free platform for nonprofits to join and get access to any resource under the sun. The goal of the organization it's a nonprofit as well, is to provide the top-notch resources to a nonprofit, whatever that might be. And if we don't have that solution currently, we'll find it. That's our commitment.
100%.
So to that end, in late January, anyone who's part of the Nonprofit Resource Hub, I'm hosting a training on board development action planning on January 24th. So that will come around. I'm hosting a training through Nonprofit New York on the overcoming your top 5 board management challenges. So these are kind of the things that I live and breathe, and it's all tied back to strategic planning. But sometimes it makes sense to kind of take a little bite of the cookie and maybe just address that piece before you tackle the whole cookie.
All right. See, that's where we're gonna have to disagree, because if we're talking about cookies, there's no like take a little bite of a cookie. I eat the whole box of cookies. I mean, I know you didn't mean that, but I'm like, I don't take a bite of a cookie. You can take a bite of a strategic plan. You can break that into its component pieces. I'm not looking to break cookies into their component pieces. I'm just looking to eat them. We got to make some shout outs to some friends who are watching us live. Shout out Fred Towels. Fred, I haven't seen you in years. I hope you're well, sir. Have a blessed holiday season. Our friend, our buddy, Jen Capezza, checking in. So we got to say, hey, we love you, Jen. So thanks for checking in on what we're doing. Jen's organization, Long Island Against Domestic Violence, has and is doing incredibly special work out there. And she's been on Philanthropy and Focus, but she's also been on the Professionals and Animal Lovers show, because they are the only domestic violence shelter that takes the animals in a lot of cases. Not to go too far on a tangent, but in a lot of those domestic violence cases, the animal is part of the abuse. And then the family feels like if they leave and they leave their animal there, they're leaving their animal in that setting. So anyway, check out Jen Capezza, check out Long Island Against Domestic Violence, LI Against Domestic Violence. So let's get back into our conversation though. We mentioned Bell's Board. We've kind of teased around Bell's Board. Do you want to talk about, your and Frank's relationship? Frank, your business partner, and how Frank Orzo, hey Frank, what's up, man? And can you talk about how that even developed, the relationship, and then how it developed into wait, maybe there's something here. Maybe we can go create and build something.
Yeah, sure. Thank you for asking. So Frank was one of my lead volunteers when I worked at the Columbus Citizens Foundation in Manhattan. It was really fun working with him in that capacity. And then about 6 years ago, we started our business together. Early in the process, we were interviewing executive directors. This pain point kept coming up. We're spending so much time trying to keep our board engaged. It is so much work to keep all of this organized. And so Frank and I are also board members in different capacities. Frank is extremely dedicated to his alma mater, Holy Cross High School, out here.
I gotta pause here we got to pause for a second, because I was not gonna bring this up, but since you just did it, I'm just gonna say it. First time I ever met Frank Orzo, he showed up with like a briefcase and it said, CHSSA champions. I think it was 1963 football champions. And I said, oh, Holy Cross, huh? I said, I'm a Chaminade guy. And he literally picked up his bag ready to walk out, because a little bit of rivalry there. He never left. He's a buddy of mine. I joke with him, but they had beat Chaminade in that game is kind of that's the whole punchline of the thing. So yes, I know how committed he is to Holy Cross. So I must let you get back on track, but I just had you set me up. It was like we're playing volleyball. I know you're a big soccer player, but like set spike kind of thing,
That's fine. Yeah. The reason why I'm so lucky to work with Frank is because when he commits to something, he follows through. He is genuine. He is a relationship builder. And so when we kept discovering this pain point about board engagement, he said, well, we should just create our own. And I said, wait. We need to see what's out there first. And we did. So as board members, we did our research and we kept coming back with, why should a nonprofit have to spend $5,000 up front and commit to a year before they even know if a platform is right for them? And so we were able to create Bell's Board through Frank's developer connections and all of his past technological endeavors. He had a software company for almost 30 years and sold that. And then that is why he was available to be my partner in this new business 6 years ago. And so we named it Bell's Board after my daughter, Annabelle, and we're just really proud to say we're now working with over 70 organizations and all throughout the country. And it's this central location. It's a no-brainer, like any other portal. It's all board and governance communication in one place. We have an awesome mobile app for iPhone and Android that we're getting great reviews constantly. It's just so fun to really have created this product that really supports all the consulting work that we do. So it's all kind of tied together.
So the work you're doing from a consulting perspective is stored in the solution that you created as well, right? So
what's funny? Yeah, with our board development action planning, what we do at the end is we say, now just turn to your Bell's Board portal and there's a new folder there for you with your entire arsenal of board development resources and your official action plan and your report card on how to kind of keep track of your progress and all of that. So it does feel good to kind of tie it up with a nice bow.
Yeah, you have the container for the stuff you're doing. Yeah, I know. So I know you had a roadmap, talk about roadmaps. Take a look at your notes, see if there's anything you want to hit upon, because I want to make sure we don't, you know, I like to leave it all out in the field. You know what I mean, coach?
Yeah.
Leave it out in the field. So
Well, we haven't yet mentioned that since Tommy and I have worked together for so long, we have a special Tommy D exclusive discount code that only the people hearing this right now can get
this is,
access.
this is so Ron Papil right now. I feel like, hold on, set it and forget it. But wait, there's more. You know?
No, but seriously, our product is less than $200 a month. Let me just put that out there. We really want it to be accessible to anyone that wants to prioritize good governance. But with the Tommy D discount, it's 90 days free right off the bat. So you can dig in, you can see if it works for you. And we onboard your entire kind of governance library there and training and everything. So I didn't want to forget that because it's a really cool offer. It's just
Absolutely.
90 days, get going. I also wanted to mention that Tommy and I are both members of the Queen's Chambers Nonprofit Committee, which is a fantastic community to be part of as well. Proud to say the Queen's Chamber is one of our Bell's Board clients as well. And so it's, again, this really wonderful partnership of supporting specifically this huge number of nonprofits throughout this county of Queens, where I live here. I'm in Astoria, by the way. Proud Astoria resident, Queens resident. So it's a great
places to eat in Astoria. Great food in
Astoria. Astoria is awesome. And so this chamber committee is really lovely. And we have a needs assessment coming up, which is a really important event. Any nonprofit that's serving people or the environment of Queens, please attend. It's virtual. You'll see us posting about it soon. It's going to be the end of January and it's virtual. So it's small groups brainstorming. What do your organizations need? Our, goal as a committee in Queens is to get those resources out to you. So it's fun work and it feels really good.
It's special. I mean, listen, and it's funny. I know we, not to take, our personal conversations and put them here on Facebook, but, I know sometimes we just take on more, you and I. We go, oh, we should do that. We should run that organization. We should run that committee. We should do that. So here's the thing. Tell me how people can follow you and your company, really. Like social media, things like that. Let's shout that out because there is one final question I want to get to, and I know we're trying to keep into a tight schedule here.
Sure. So we just relaunched our Bell's Board website a few months ago. It's looking really good. We're proud of it. It has great resources on it. So that's bellsboard.com, BELLESBOARD.com. So probably post links.
Yep.
You can sign up to be part of our community there, or nonprofitsectorstrategies.com is our business website as well. Or just connect with me directly on Facebook or Instagram or LinkedIn, any of the places that Tommy is constantly bombarding you with his videos.
Well, thank you for that. I appreciate that. All right. So now, since you're going to be fun and break my chops a little bit, I'm going to put you on the spot. This is my question for this program. We're going to ask this question. I believe I'm going to ask it every week. We're going to do a show every 2 weeks. So the next show will be the 30th of December. But here's what I came up with for you, Christine. And I'll say it like this. This is like,
no, you're gonna make me cry.
No, we're not doing that today. We'll do that. No, this is like asking who your favorite daughter is in your case, right? Me, who my favorite kid is, and so here's what it is. As part of like the nonprofit sector, as you are, what is the type of organization? Like, what speaks to your soul? What speaks to your heart? If you were the executive director of a nonprofit organization, and maybe you will be one day, let's be honest, we're young people, who knows? And if you were, what is that ideal mission? What is the focus? What is that organization that you'd be connected to and leading?
Ooh, that is a really hard one. My initial, what popped into my head right away was an organization that serves kids in foster care. Together We Rise is a great organization that I like to keep up with and donate to when I can. And also a local organization called Forestdale is lovely, also part of the Queen's Chamber Nonprofit Committee. And I did go through the entire foster parent training program there, and it was really lovely. And I just always want to grow awareness around the fact that there are so many kids just waiting for someone to take them in at all ages. And, it's an extremely challenging process, right? Let's not sugarcoat it. But a lot of people don't know and think that adoption is unaffordable, but if you start with foster care, it can be completely free. And
Oh,
there are many, many children out there that need a more stable home environment, whether it for temporary or the foster to adopt pathway. So just something to consider. So that comes to mind first. I could be too emotional to take on a leadership role within that realm, to be quite frank, because I would think about the children and get to know them within the organization, and I might not be as strong as the executive directors in
you'd
those
probably
roles.
have to buy you'd probably have to buy a real big house for all your foster children. It sounds like what it would turn into. Yeah. Look, I'm not surprised that it would be something so, so heartfelt that that's what you would pick. I want to thank you for doing this with me. We did this in a half hour. We knocked it out. We did the show. It was only, folks, I want to inspire you to do this. If you want to do something, just freaking do it. Just take a shot. Just, you want to go live on Facebook and tell a good story, go do it. You want to do some content and put it out on Instagram, just do it. You know what? You'll find the people you want to connect with. You find the people that are going to value what you're doing. And certainly with our reach in the nonprofit sector, Christine, I know they're better off for you being here. So thank you. Tell me anything you want to say before we go, because there's one thing I want to close it up with too.
I just want to say thank you. And to anybody who made the time to listen, we appreciate it, because this is the holiday season and we're all overwhelmed. And if you spent time with us today, thank you for listening.
Awesome. Very incredible. So very incredible, Tommy. Not just regular incredible, very incredible. That's good. So I want to thank everybody for being on here, checking it out. And also listen, wherever you're finding this, like and share, stay in touch with me if you want to get more aware of what's going on in nonprofit, both locally and certainly not just locally, all around the country for that matter. And I wrote this earlier: together we will continue to make this sector even better and even stronger. Your boy, the Nonprofit Sector Connector. This new show is called In Focus Nonprofit Show, because I just wanted to put it right in the title so you knew what it was. So it's a nonprofit show and we're in focus. And next time on the show, 2 weeks from today, will be my buddy Mick Collins from Pay It Forward Processing. Going to drop some knowledge on you, knowledge bombs, going to teach us all about what nonprofits have to look out for from a merchant processing perspective, and also what Pay It Forward does by sharing a portion of their receivables, of their income, of their net proceeds to nonprofit organizations. They've given away almost $500,000 already on what they're doing. So that's it. We'll leave it there. Christine, happy holidays. Make it a great day. Thanks for being my first ever guest of this show. I appreciate you.
Thanks, Tommy.
See you
Take
later.
care.